Hello, I'm Jerry Willis, and this is Your Bottom Line, the show that saves you money. Congress is back on the Hill, and health care is a make or break issue this session. We'll show you what all the proposals would mean for you. Make or break month for health care reform only fired up members of Congress as they headed back to work this week. President Obama made his case for a major overhaul of the system in a primetime address, saying he's not the first president to take on health care, but he is determined to be the last.
The time for games has passed. Now is the season for action. Now is when we must bring the best ideas of both parties together and show the American people that we can still do what we were sent here to do. Now is the time to deliver on health care.
But what likely matters most to you is how these proposed plans would affect your health and your bottom line. Andrew Rubin is the host of Healthcare Connect on Sirius XM Doctor Radio. And Peter Moore is an editor with Men's Health who recently did a one-on-one interview with the First Family on the issue of health care. And Peter, you're actually the editor of the magazine, as I recall. Welcome to you both.
Thanks so much.
All right, I want to start with this idea of the president's speech and show you some of the major elements of it. It was wide-ranging. He suggests offering a public insurance option, very controversial, coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. The list goes on and on. The first thing I want to do here is get your reaction to this speech, starting with you, Andrew.
I love the speech. He's given a lot of speeches on healthcare, but this was the first one where you really heard, there really was some of the detail in there. It might have been a little difficult for most Americans to understand it unless you read the Senate Finance Bill or what's in the Senate Finance Bill today. But a lot of what the president said last night had a lot of key components of what's in this Senate Finance Bill and what we're going to be hearing about over the next few weeks.
Peter, what do you think?
Well, I thought that the president did a fine job last night, too, and I think that what worked for me best was when he brought it all around to the discussion of the moral imperative. All through this, I've been thinking about the 30 million out there. People argue about the number.
Right.
If it's in the millions at all, that means there's a vast human tragedy taking place out there with health care. And I just think we're a good enough nation to address that.
Andrew, let's talk about costs, though. Right? I mean, this is a big issue. The president said $900 billion for my plan. We know that right now we're spending something like $7,400 for individuals every year. It's a lot of money. Can we afford this? It seems that health care seems to be taking up all of our money. Where's the money for education? Where's the money for other programs?
Well, there is money. And first of all, this country has money, and this bill, is, as the president made very clear last night, is not going to cost any more than we're spending today. And because I work in this industry and because of what I know what's in the Senate Finance Bill today, there's a lot of room in the healthcare system to save some money and fund insurance for everyone. So again, we're going to have to look at the detail of what actually happens, but what I do know and what I feel comfortable telling you is there's enough cost in the system, and with the mandates that came out in the speech last night where everybody's going to have insurance, there's enough room in there to cover the cost of this reform.
Peter, you had the good fortune to actually interview the president at length, and one of the things I'm always so interested in when we talk about policy makers is what's their personal experience coming into talking about policy? What forms their viewpoints? What did you learn about the president?
Part of what we were talking to the president about was, he started out on the wrong side of the tracks as far as economically speaking. So he had an experience of, going through his mother's terminal cancer, where she was actually fighting with the insurance companies to get her chemotherapy covered. That is a very specific, tragic experience that he went through. But he also told me that his grandmother had excellent health care through her job. So, I feel like the president has seen how bad the system can be and how good the system can be when it works. And that was the point that he wanted to make for me. He hoped that we as a country can move to the better and away from the bad.
Yeah, and the devil's in the details, obviously. Andrew, we talked a lot about the costs, and I know a lot of people out there are worried because they like the health care they have. Do you think at the end of the day people will change the way they use health care because of what's going to happen or what could happen?
I think we as a country need to change the way we use health care, and I think what's in the bill protects people who like their insurance. It promotes preventative care. The president has said many times he believes in wellness programs and keeping people out of the emergency rooms. What's in the bill is in there, but he also said if you like your insurance, you can keep it, and that's also there. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
You think we're moving in the right direction. Peter, you talked to the president about solutions, and one of the things you asked him about was a soda tax. There's been a lot of conversation about, do you tax people to stop behaviors that just aren't productive? He said he was in favor. What do you make of his response, and do you think that would ever happen?
Well, I think the president, even when he was talking about it, was kind of backpedaling a little bit. He said he was interested in the idea because it's been shown that sugary drinks have had such a negative impact on the nation's diet. I think he's realistic in the fact that that's not going to happen. We're having enough trouble just getting people insured right now. But I think that, with the president's emphasis on preventive care, that if we can all do a better job of identifying our health problems early on in the process when they're very easy to treat with behavior modification, whatever it takes, then we can avoid those catastrophic situations where people are going into the ER and spending millions of dollars.
All right, and you mentioned all the people who are in line for health care. I have to wonder, if you had 45 million people to doctors' waiting lists, will there be enough doctors?
You know what? That's a great question. Massachusetts, which had the first sort of state-mandated coverage, struggled with this in the beginning. There is, again, in the bills that are out there, money for primary care, preventative care. I think listen, in the beginning, we won't know for sure, but I would say over time, there'll be enough doctors to take care of everyone.
Andrew, Peter, thank you so much. Great answers, very tough questions, complicated issue. Appreciate your help.
Sure thing.
Still ahead, protecting your home on a